Welcome to r/I do work here, lady, where we share stories about employees that are mistaken for customers. And the first story is, I do work here, sir. About 5 years ago, I worked at the International Center of a university in the US. To give some background info, I am an Asian female, 5'1" in height, and though I was in my early 30s at the time, I did still look quite young, and was often mistaken for being in my early 20s or late teens. My main job responsibility at the time was the recruitment, training, and management of about a dozen international student interns who worked the front desk. Anyways, we had been swamped that AM, so I hadn't had time to go out to eat lunch. I got a sandwich at our campus vending machine and sat down in the break room. The break room was always cold due to the AC blasting through the room, so I put on a comfy university jacket I kept at my desk, just to wear during break. I kept the break room door open to keep an ear out for the front, and let my interns know they could still pop in to ask any questions they want. I had hired a couple new students that month, and they were still learning. A few minutes later, I heard a man's voice yell something along the lines of, No, you do not understand. You are stupid, stupid." The childish outcries exclaimed in a grown male voice made me immediately stand up and rush to the front desk area, without even remembering to take my jacket off. The man was literally wagging his finger at my intern and yelling while almost comically stomping his feet. I interjected his tantrum and introduced myself as the intern's supervisor, gave my name and position, and told him I could assist him with the issue. The man immediately looked me up and down, scoffed a short no. He then turned right back to the intern and asked her to call the supervisor, as he needed to ask someone who actually works here, not just some young girl like the intern who sits there at the front repeating nonsense. It wasn't my first rodeo with unnecessarily angry students, so I calmly gestured at my intern to step away and planted myself directly in front of him. That made him change his rant towards me, saying, "Listen, I know you Chinese want to help each other, but my issue is urgent, and so I need to see your supervisor." Supervisor. Call, making dialing phone gesture here, him, and he can sign my I-20. Yes, both my intern and I were Asian, but nope, neither of us were Chinese, and I hate when people over-enunciate when speaking to me. My thoughts often immediately go to, English is my first language, moron, as is evident by the fact that I just spoke it to you. Also, it peeved me off that he assumed the supervisor would be male. I did my best to remain calm, however, and confirm the issue. "Oh, so you're here to get an I-20 travel signature? If you go online and submit the form, you will—" "No, GD, you don't understand," he screamed. He then proceeded in a rapid rant, saying that I must get a real staff member who actually works there, instead of giving him the same instructions again, because he needed his sign now, because he wanted to go out of town tonight, and surely the school didn't want to make him, a student who pays such high tuition, to have to come back on campus just to get his signature before he leaves the country after his road trip. "Do I know how much money he gives to the school?" he asked. "Do little girls from China even understand how expensive his luxury trip was to book?" he wondered. "Get the man who can actually help him in here," he demanded. More background info. University students in the US on an I-20 visa need an updated signature on their form every once in a while in order to travel abroad and get back. Now, I hated it when entitled students asked for expedited services just for convenience. Many students actually planned ahead and made their requests on time, and it wasn't fair to expedite the process for whoever asked the loudest. I was actually the one who had the power to approve very limited last-minute travel signature requests, due to real emergency situations, such as family emergency, etc. But obviously, this guy in his luxury vacation wasn't going to qualify for expedited service just for being a D-bag. I raised my hand and put my palm out in front of his face for a second, to stop his rapid ongoing rant. "Again, sir, I am the supervisor in this area. No, let me continue, and I hear your issue. My intern here is giving you the instructions for I-20 signatures already. But you want expedited service simply because you don't want to have to come back to our office another day to pick it up. Yes? Okay then. No, let me continue. Unfortunately, that cannot be arranged, so please go home and submit the online form like all of our F1 students and wait 2 to 3 business days for a response." He started to speak again, but I put my hand out again to stop him, maintained eye contact, and picked up the phone. "Also, sir, if you do not leave immediately, I will be calling campus security to escort you out of this building for harassing me and my staff members. But before you go, just so you know, I will be noting in your form that you are missing XX days from school. Note that you must maintain your full-time student status for your visa. As you have kindly told us of your planned weeks of absence, please be ready to submit documentation of why this was an excused absence from your classes. Lastly, do not insult my staff again, or you will be banned from entering this office again." He stood there stunned for a few seconds, then started to say something again, but I then proceeded to dial the number on the phone. I couldn't remember campus security extension, so I was actually pressing random numbers, and so he ran out. This may not have been the best solution ever to a yucky situation, but this was actually the first time I kicked a student out of the office, so I was a bit shaken up about it. The best part of the story, though, is what happened next. My boss at the time, white female in her 40s, walked in a few minutes after and asked me to come talk to her. I thought I was in trouble for some reason, but she actually asked me instead if everything was okay, because she met a rude international student outside. Apparently, the rude man had run into my boss outside, and he had asked her if she happens to know who is the boss of the girl in there, and if she knew how he could talk to him. My boss had said that she was the supervisor of the woman who works in there, and asked if she could help. The man apparently then said something along the lines of how she then needed to find him the man highest up the chain, because his issue demanded real work. He was rude enough that my boss actually did call campus police to escort him out of campus property. She told me that next time, the moment he raises his voice, I do not need to even engage him in conversation, but can just kick him out immediately. As he was forewarned, that is what will happen next time. The second story is, I work here, I'm not 10, and I can kick you out. Some short backstory. So this happened back when I was in high school, in the 11th grade, and I was about 16 or 17 at the time. I always worked with the drama productions, and the only adult working there would be the drama teacher himself, Mr. B. Cool dude. He was actually my teacher at the time as well, so I was getting extra credit for each night I worked. As for what I did, I basically did everything except work tech and actually perform. So that means I cleaned before and after shows, sold tickets and concessions, helped with costumes and hair, sometimes helped with setting scenes, but my main job was being an usher. I manned the door, making sure that only people with tickets, except for a few exceptions like staff, got in, and no one sneaked in, as well as helping people find seats if they need help. Sometimes I'm asked to go grab some extra chairs, though we have limited space for that, so I can only really add about 10 extra chairs. Now on to the actual story. There rarely was ever any real issues that happened when I worked for the drama productions. Sometimes people would be confused as to where the bathroom was, or about tickets, but nothing major. However, this night was a bit of a problem. At my school, you could order the tickets online, but when you do so, you'll get this document, proof of purchase basically, that you need to print out and take to the front, where they will trade that for an actual physical ticket. Real simple, instructions on the paper in bold too, can't miss it. Though sometimes I have to tell people, again, not an issue. I tried to explain this to this couple, terrible at guessing ages, but they look to be at least in their 30s to 40s, and their young kid. I don't know, man, like 10 or 12? But they just kept arguing with me about how we spent so much money on these tickets. Let us in now. Dude, the tickets are pretty cheap, like $5 per adult. I just kept telling them to go around to the front, pointing to it, like 5 feet away with no line at the moment, and trade that paper in for the tickets. They then started to yell about how we were robbing them of money, and how they don't want to pay for more tickets. Where are they getting this from? One of the techs calls out that it's 30 minutes till curtains, so I gotta hurry this up, as they are also blocking other people from getting in. And the whole time they were yelling about how they aren't gonna take orders from a 10-year-old, and that they want someone who really works here to help them. They don't believe me when I say that I do work here, because only adults get hired to do work. Now, besides that latter statement being incredibly stupid, I have to be fair on the first part. I do look incredibly young. I'm only 4'10", and my face can be described as a circle, but I don't think that I look that young. The entire time this is happening, their kid keeps trying to get past me to save some seats. Yeah, no, I just keep blocking the kid's way, making for a better wall than a door after all. I've had enough. I'm annoyed. It's getting close for the show to start, and I still got people waiting to be let in, so I just tell them to leave. I don't ask, I tell them to leave. And oh boy, the curses go flying after that. I can't kick them out, I'm stealing their money. They're gonna get me fired for this, and blah blah blah. I'm not 10, I do in fact work here, you can't get me fired, and I can and will kick you out. So leave now before I make you. The guy actually shoves me out of his way, and against one of the walls, and I figured at this point that since he's gotten physical with me first, it's now fair game for me. I'm much smaller than this guy, so I decided to just use my full weight, only about 100 pounds, and ram him out of the doorway and onto his A on the ground outside. My shoulders certainly hurt after that, and the woman is now screaming at me for assaulting her husband, and the kid is also kicking and punching me, but like how little kids do it. Still hurts, but I simply just grab both of their sleeves and start yanking them away from the doorway and towards the gate of the school, and tell the other people waiting that I'll be with them in a moment. The kid at some point bit me, and the woman dug her nails into my arm and scratched it. Both hurt a lot. Now at my school, we have on-campus police, and while they are gone after school hours, they do come back during after-school events, like our plays. One of them see me and jogs over. She makes me let go of the two, and I do, and start asking what happened. Their story is that I refused to let them in despite them paying for tickets. I cursed them out, attacked the husband without reason, and dragged them away from the show. When I tried to tell my story, they kept yelling over me until the cop told them to shut up. After I give my side, Mr. B jogs over. A tech actually ran and got him, and he asked what was going on. They told him that a child, me, had ditched her parents and was pretending to be a worker and attacked, and he had to explain that I did in fact work there. There's a lot of arguing, as both sides are insistent that the other is lying, until the cop has Mr. B stay and keep an eye on all of us, while she goes and asks around what really happened, as there was still a line of people by the door to the drama room/theater. I did get in trouble with both the on-campus police and my teacher, But because I have no past records of getting in trouble, and other adults in the text vouching for me that the man attacked me first, I only got a scolding, as I could have handled the situation much better. And yeah, I could and should have. Which is fair, I'll take it. The couple and kid got banned from the school for the rest of the year, though they kept yelling about how I attacked them first and how we're stealing their money. We're a scam and a bunch of other stuff that I can't remember. They did threaten to sue, but I was a minor at the time, so I don't think that they could do it, or it would be financially worth it. I could be wrong about that, but since I'm 21 now and have yet to get a call about being sued, I think I'm fine. Thankfully, I was able to do my usher job fast enough that we started the show only about 5 minutes late. But yeah, Mr. B told me that while he was glad that I did my job, that I should probably just get him or have someone to get him the next time this happened. Thing is, before this happened, Mr. B had told me not to disturb him while he was backstage working, as it was very important on whatever he was doing at the time, and to only get him if there was a fire, and that everything else I was allowed to handle myself, except tech. Leave that to the techs. The third story is, but I do work here. This happened several years ago when I worked at GameStop in college. It was near closing time on a Sunday, so it was just my manager and myself. Manager was working on paperwork in the back room, while I was putting away game cases, when a customer walks in. I greet him and ask him if there's anything I can help him find. He brushes me off and says, "No, you wouldn't know what I'm looking for." Okay? I respond, "Well, I'm here if you have any questions." He walks off to look at games, I go back to work. I go back to grab more game cases to put away. He goes over to the PS3 wall where I just was and picks up Dragon Age 2, which is one of my favorite games. Out of excitement, I say, "That's a great choice," which he replies with, "You don't know anything about this. You don't even work here." GameStop doesn't have uniforms, but I have the lanyard with the GameStop name badge, and I'm literally the only other person in the store. Before I can reply, manager comes out from the back room to start counting down the registers. The customer goes up to him with Dragon Age 2 case and asks, "Have you played this game before?" Manager points to me and says, "No, but that's one of her favorite games. She can tell you all about it." He bought the game and left without even looking at me. Thank you for watching this video to the end, and for so much support in the comments.